I'm finding the low mood much more like present in a way, because I have to think about it, because I don't have the distraction of going on social media. Okay, so over the past 7 days, I got rid of social media. I got rid of Instagram. What did I get rid of? Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Not that I ever use Twitter. And I think that was it. As you can see now, I am home, I am in London, and over the past 7 days, I have been in Wales. So I decided to do this video when I was in Wales, in the middle of nowhere, with just my parents, because I don't really know, I'm not convinced that was the best idea I've ever had. So in this video, I want to talk about the impact that that had on me, and I'm going to try and split it up into 2 sections. So I work in social media, so I want to talk about the aspects that that has had on me, and then social media as a user in general. So I'm going to start with just being on social media as if it's not my job. It's been weird. I'm just gonna say, it's been weird. There has been many a roller coaster with the past week. It's been up and down so much. And also, this sounds really intense. I'm gonna make this really deep, but I'm not intending on doing that, because obviously a lot of people exist without social media, and that's like, I'm just gonna make it really dramatic, but you're gonna have to just bypass that. So being off social media did help my anxiety in many ways. One of the key things with going on social media is access to loads of people, and sort of being able to wake up and compare yourself to loads of people in a click, which is something that, you know, my parents never had to do, or even me when I was growing up. So Instagram first became a thing properly when I was like maybe 15, and even then I was posting pictures of like, collages with like vinaigrette styles to them. Like, it's not the same. Instagram as I was growing up is not the same to what it is now. I just feel like I have such a habit of like wanting to go and check my phone, but I don't even know what I'm checking. Like, I don't even know what, like, if it's going to be that enjoyable for me to just scroll through Instagram. Like, that kills a lot of hours. But like, what did people do before that was a thing? Like, I mean, when I was 15 or 16 when Instagram came into like life, so what was I doing with my time before then? And so you have access to millions, if not, no, must be millions of people on this site. And so the ability to compare yourself literally as soon as you wake up is there, and that's something that I never had when I was growing up. And so being off social media the past week has been beneficial, because I haven't been able to just compare myself to people all the time. I feel like that's quite a source of a lot of insecurity, is having other people just there, being able to look at what they're doing. You know, this person's just got engaged, this person's just having a baby, this person's just smashed the gym, like all of these aspects, and I'm just sat there like in bed, particularly when my mental health is worse as well. Like, if my mental health is already bad and I go on social media, then it's gonna make matters worse, because I'm there laying in bed being upset with absolutely nothing, and then I'm seeing all these people that are just thriving, and it's just like a recipe for disaster. So being off that was amazing for that. I found myself being extremely bored a lot of the time. I'm now thinking that the week where I come away to the middle of Wales with just my parents and nothing else may have been a bad idea to go completely social media-less as well. But then I also feel kind of pathetic for saying that, because like, Helena, it's been like a day and 2 days and a half. Like, get a bit of a grip, you know. I spend a lot of hours on social media, which is good and it's bad. A lot of the time it is sort of, I'm gonna say job-based loosely, but like, it's also my job to be on social media. I spend way more time than I should be. Like, I need to get a grip. Being off it was a bit like, okay, what now? Considering I like sort of just don't know what to do. I mean, I could do some work. I actually should do some work. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I'm always on my stories. Like, I'm always dancing, I'm always chatting, I'm just always there. And so I spent a lot of time just sort of not doing much. You would have thought I would have become more productive in other ways. I mean, I was in Wales, we did go on a lot of walks, so that was nice. So a few days I had to stay at home because I needed to do some work. So I work part-time in social media, which I had to completely ignore. Well, I had to do that because that's my job. But I wouldn't really call that being on social media, because it's like a company profile. I digress. So I had to spend a few days at home doing that. And on those days, I literally just wasn't even being productive. I was just sort of like not doing anything. I was sort of just sitting. And I feel my expectation was to be like,
oh, I'm not gonna have social media, so I'm just gonna boss my life. I'm gonna like seize every day.
And I just didn't. Like, realistically, I just didn't. It didn't take the removal of social media to actually like motivate me to do things. Usually I'm like just scrolling through social media and it would already be 6. Like, the days go fast when you're just sort of scrolling. And I do think that's a bad habit to have, but I just kind of want to use it at the same time. Ugh. The other thing that I really want to talk about is me and my low mood. Now, I always talk about my anxiety. I just always do. But in the past 2 months, my mental health in general has been like dramatically declining, or has just declined in this period of time, because there's been a lot of changes, a lot of things have happened in my personal life that have made me more sad. To put it blankly, what I found from removing social media was that I had nothing to sort of get me out of that low mood. So a lot of the time when I feel like I'm in a low mood, I will go on social media. I'm finding the low mood much more like present in a way because I have to think about it, because I don't have the distraction of going on social media. It kind of depends on my low mood, what happens when I go on social media, but sometimes I wake up and I'm feeling unmotivated and I go on social media, it makes me feel worse. But in terms of like just feeling quite down, and particularly in the evening times, I often use social media as a distraction, is probably the best word, a distraction from that low mood. So removing that, I really had to actually just sit with my thoughts and really acknowledge how I was feeling, which is a good thing looking back at it, but at the time is obviously not easy and it's horrible. So I really did struggle quite a lot of the evenings because I wasn't able to ignore the thoughts that I had been trying to ignore and the sadness that I had been trying to push away. So I really just had to sit and think about my thoughts and then write them down. I ended up writing like this massive paragraph of notes. It was hard on like a few of the evenings. I mean, I've had what, 2 days, so I need to like kind of get a grip a little bit, but like when you do like experience such low moods or such like strong sad thoughts don't know the way to describe it, this is the best way I can describe it, then social media can be a bit of a crux to sort of like ignore that, like look at memes and stuff. That is the one thing that I would say was one of the hardest things, alongside the boredom, but that's just kind of like the actual low mood and the severe sadness that I can feel at some points. Usually social media can sort of help me forget about that, you know, by looking at like memes and like learning stuff, and even just me just being on there dancing, just being an idiot, like that helps me. So not being able to do that really did impact me in a negative way, which is interesting because obviously there's pros and cons to social media, but I almost didn't think that that was going to happen. I thought I would feel better, to be honest, but I didn't. So I would say that's sort of everything in terms of like being a user of social media, because I had such like I really did spend a lot of time just like in my head and like with my own thoughts. I mean, I had some weird ass thoughts. Anyway, so moving on to quickly talk about sort of social media as a job aspect. As I said, I work part-time in social media for a company. That's completely a side note, but my main sort of job, or that takes up a lot of space in my brain, is being on YouTube, is being on Instagram. They're like my main platforms, they're my main job. I think I've got myself into quite a comfortable relationship with doing social media as a job. However, there is anxiety that I get from it. My anxiety comes a lot from my impact of other people. That is a big source of my anxiety, and I want to always have the best impact on people. You're never going to be able to have the best impact on every single person. You're always going to mess up, you're always going to do something wrong, or you'll slip up somewhere, or just do something that could potentially trigger other people, and that is where my anxiety comes from, because I overthink everything. The fact that Instagram and social media and stuff is also partly my job also makes the anxiety rise as well. I mean, it's good, I've said this before, it's really good to think about what you're putting on social media, and it's good to think about your impact you're having on an audience, because I know a lot of people with massive audiences that are kind of on the attitude of like, this is my page.
This is my page, if you don't like it, leave.
But I'm under the impression that it's your responsibility as a person on social media to impact anyone the best you possibly can, to minimize your negative impacts on people, because people can stumble upon your page. Yes, people can unfollow, but your message is still the same. You want to promote the best message you possibly can, and so a lot of my anxiety comes from making sure that I'm trying to do that, and I overthink that too much. I know I do. That's just how my brain works. Coming off it for a week, that anxiety has gone down significantly, but even from the past few days where I've had it back, that's just gone back. That's not really changed, but I mean, that just comes down to me, and I really need to sort that out. And then alongside that, I get really anxious in terms of working with brands and things like that. I mean, I haven't worked with that many, to be honest, and everyone I've worked with I completely back. But at the same time, I get anxious about it. I really do, because it's a big part of the fact that I am able to you know, live in London and like actually pursue this as a job, and that is just so mind-boggling to me, and it is so amazing, and I could not be more grateful. But working with people does cause my anxiety to go up, because I am once again thinking about, to some extent, the thoughts of other people, and to some extent how people are going to perceive me for doing things that I believe in. And that's a different part of anxiety in terms of like me caring too much about what other people think, not necessarily the impact on other people, which I do as well. And so that this past week hasn't really changed, to be honest, I guess, because I haven't really done anything. As I said earlier, in terms of just being a user of social media, not being on it has been like, I've been a bit like, oh, like I'm a little bit sad now because I can't dance on social media. I can't like just be me, and I love doing that, obviously. It's been a weird week. All the 3 people I live with now, none of them have social media. The idea of me just deleting it for a week is like, it's a week, get a grip. The other thing I want to quickly talk about is in terms of my job whilst I'm here, is talking about like my purpose. One of the big reasons that I wanted to do this as well was because I felt very much like I didn't have a purpose on social media. To some extent, I don't want to have like a purpose. I want to just exist and be happy and be me. But then I was sort of getting to this point where I was like, what am I actually doing? Like, I love like just creating videos and entertaining people. Like that's one of my main, that's the reason I do it. I love to do that. But I felt like I didn't have a purpose in terms of like people in certain groups of Instagram do certain things. For example, fitness people do fitness, body confidence people do blah, 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 blah. You get me, you know what I mean? And I felt very much like I don't have that. I think it's a good thing not to have that in some ways, because I hate the idea of having to be in a niche. As humans, we're not just one thing, you know, we're not just into fitness, we're not just into body confidence, we're not just into cars, I don't know. We can be into so many things, so I hate the fact that we have to niche down. And so that was something I was really struggling with before. And so I used this week as like a bit of just a refresh to see like, okay, Helena, what do you actually want to do? Do you want to have a bit more of a purpose? And I've sort of done a few things this week to like relax and like stop getting in my head and just benefit people in the best way possible. But a lot of that just comes from creating videos, because that is what I love to do. I know that they don't all have to have a purpose. I can just like just be an idiot, and I know that that's just gonna make someone laugh a little bit at least, or me. And I know not everything has to have a purpose per se, but I also want to add that. I want to make sure that I am still intermittently, you know, being an idiot, but also having a little bit of a, like, I want to uplift people, you know, and like make people feel confident. I think that's what I want to do. Whereas I sort of got to the point where I was like, had sort of forgotten that a little bit. I don't know if I'm making any sense. This video is going to be so bizarre, but yeah, so this past week I've sort of just like actually tried to like just feel confident in what I'm creating and my impact on people, and just making sure that I am doing the best I possibly can on a platform that I have been so fortunate enough to have. I think from here on out I will definitely go like maybe a couple weekends or a few days without social media, because I do think it is important to have those times completely off it. I think now that I'm back in London and I've got my friends around me, it will be better for me to do that as well, because I am with people, and I don't think I can do it for a week, because I do think there's a part of me that does actually need it at some points. And I don't think it's necessarily that bad. I mean, it is 2020, like that's part of who we are, but I do think taking some time off it is really important. I just had something else to say. I can't remember what I was about to say something else, but I can't remember. Also, do you like I think this is quite a good setup. I feel quite professional here. Like, I'm not just sat on my bed, you know, I'm sat on the sofa. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm gonna end the video here. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want me to do any kind of more videos like this, which I will, I kind of want to make it more of a regular thing to do like more sit downs. This is all one of the other things that I've got from taking the week off, was that I actually like have been able to like schedule. That is something that I haven't been ever in my whole almost 2 years of being on YouTube. I've never been ahead of the game. Not once. That is all for this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye.